This show has been brought to you by FBA speakers. We hold the diaries for Will Tjernlund, Anthony Lee and myself, Danny McMillan. If you'd like to book us for your conference or event, visit fbaspeakers.com for more details. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, we bring in Will Tjernlund. How are you doing, Will?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. So today we're going to be talking about suspensions. It's normally a scary topic, but instead of talking about suspensions from a suspension prevention company's point of view, I just want to try and look at it from a seller's point of view. So I know lots of people that do suspension stuff. I've got great relationships. So hopefully this doesn't upset the apple cart. This is really about having an open conversation about the inner workings and when you should look to suspension companies and the benefits and stuff. So let's kick off with you, Will. What's your take on suspension companies, for instance?
Well, first and foremost, the whole concept of suspensions is actually semi-foreign to me.
Yeah.
My brother has an Amazon seller account. I have an Amazon seller account for my brand Bad Boy. I run a consulting agency where I manage 20 different Amazon accounts at once.
Yeah.
And no one ever gets suspended.
Yeah.
And they're always doing weird stuff. I got one of my suppliers who when they run out of the bronze version of their product, they just send people the silver version and say hey, it's actually the upgraded version. You got upgraded for free. Don't worry about it. And they send the wrong product to the customer, and they've been doing it for years. And they say no customers ever complain.
Yeah.
And so I've heard some crazy stories and no one ever gets suspended. And then I go to these Amazon conferences or go into these Facebook groups and it seems like everyone's getting suspended every 2 seconds. Yeah. So I have kind of a skewed view because it seems like something that happens to everyone else but never happens to me. Yeah. But in general, when I get talk to people and I'm chit-chatting about, okay, how do I get unsuspended? Yeah. It seems like from the suspension experts that I know and talking to that it's always fairly straightforward. It's explain the problem that you broke. Yeah. Explain how you've rectified it and solved that problem.
Yeah.
And then from there, say that it's never going to happen again. Don't worry about it. And you just have to kind of be persistent and just keep kind of pushing it over and over again and look at the exact wording that they're using, change your wording kind of to fit theirs and make sure you're kind of mirroring and restating exactly what they said. And so when you want to hire an agency for something like this, I hope it's really complicated or you just have zero time in the day because it seems like something you should be able to handle mostly yourself.
Yeah, I think that what I'm trying to look at, let's look at it from different point of views. From my understanding, some of the biggest suspension teams, they're charging $2-3 grand a pop. If it's weekends, sometimes double. It really depends. I know people in the UK that basically charge 500. And I'd say there's levels to this, and there's some of them have worked inside of Amazon, some haven't. But you do hear a lot of stories where people don't get reinstated. So my thing is so if you're a seller losing 20 grand a day, right, and you're suspended, I think, definitely you may pay that 2 grand to get it, to take the problem off your plate because it's very deliberating. I've been suspended before and I know many others. And you kind of go into a bit of not a meltdown, but it's right, you've got so many attempts to make sure this is right. And I think my worry is that sometimes because you're scared, that means scared equals a big dollar sign or a pound sign in terms of charging what effectively is knowledge in someone's head and a one-sheeter to answer these questions, right? So it's not like they've got labor materials, and I'm sure that some of these guys have got offices and stuff like that. But I think the point I'm trying to get to is that imagine you're a seller that's doing, say, 5 grand a month, for instance, and you get suspended and you're trying to build up the business. And then you've got to spend, say, 2 or 3 grand to get someone to write you a letter, but with no guarantees. I'm wondering if there's a model in place for people that is more cost effective. Do you see what I'm saying? If you're a superstar seller and you're doing loads of revenue per day, you pay the pain to go away. Yeah, it's a bit like, it's a funny one, because it's well, what are the overheads to the people? What are the skill sets? Now, some of this stuff is legal, without a doubt. There's a lawyer and that in place. I'm just trying to think I don't know what the conversion rate is, but I probably hear more stories of people not getting reinstated than do get reinstated. But that may be because people are airing their grievances that they didn't get reinstated.
No, exactly. I think that's what I was kind of mentioning before. It's first and foremost, always just try to do it yourself. Like, just try to send it out because it's going to be quick and easy. You're just going to send them over a message saying, hey, what's the deal?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting, though, on your point, if these like anti-suspension companies could kind of throw the different suspensions into different buckets.
Yeah.
Say, hey, here's one because you sent the wrong product. Here's a commingled one. Here's one because your brand wasn't correct. And then if they had like a percentage of cases, one in each one.
Yeah.
So at least you can know who specializes in what, who's got the kind of secret sauce where it's like, okay, they're 99% for when something gets commingled and they send the wrong inventory. Okay, because they know exactly how to explain that problem to Amazon and how they're going to rectify it. Where other ones, they might be kind of lackluster, or at least just know ahead of time that, like, hey, just so you know, like when we get into brand gating issues, that we shoot 25% and that it's a 25% is the industry leading average.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you might be throwing money away. So we should warn you that ahead of time. And if they could kind of be a little more transparent like that.
Yeah, I mean, I got a guy in the UK because we were having a chat with some people. I won't name him out of respect for him, but when I spoke to him, I said, like, what is your take on it? He said, look, Dan, he said, I'm writing an appeal letter. It's 30 minutes of my time. I don't want unhappy customers. You know, if I charge £500 for an appeal letter and they don't get it through and they're unhappy, I'll give them their money back, which I thought was really good. I think what I'm trying to do is, for a better word, price gouging and using the fear factor. You know, you're being suspended, therefore you're stopping your tracks. I think what I'm trying to get to, it'd be nice if there was some sort of model was like, right, this is the fee for us to write the one-sheeter for you. Most of this stuff is template. Not all, but most of it's templated. We'll do the one-sheeter for you, but if you're not successful for it, we'll give you, you know, you don't pay the balance. So like you could pay 50% up front. But like, or like, you know, there's some, like you could go into the law field of it, and you could also look at like a no-win, no-fee. I'm not saying that they should work on those models, but I think it'd be really interesting to understand like what the real conversion rate is, and how much weight does it have if you worked inside of Amazon, which I'm sure it gives you more weight than if you don't work inside of Amazon or never worked there. Does that make sense?
Yep, exactly. I'm thinking exactly what you're saying, kind of the conversion rate, where like if you get a percentage of what kind of cases they've done and what their percentage was, if one person's only cost $50, but their winning rate is 30%, another person's whatever 99% and they're $3,000, then you can kind of already see you getting what you paid for, but at least they're more transparent with the information.
Yeah.
It's kind of like here in the US when you go to the hospital, you kind of leave and they just give you a bill. They're never telling you ahead of time what you're paying for, how good the doctor is. None of that stuff is transparent at all. And you just get a bill at the end and go, okay, you might still be sick, but see ya, here's the bill. Or, hey, we solved everything. We saved your life. The bill's no different. It just kind of, they send you a bill. You don't get to just discuss the price or anything like that. And it's kind of like that, where it's like this totally untransparent market where the buyers don't know the success rate and the sellers don't know how, like, ahead of time, the likelihood of them being able to solve that case. And so this kind of combination of misinformation and fear can obviously be very detrimental to your business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get challenged on this and say, look, we're trained experts and we should be able to justify our fees. There's no disputing that. What I'm looking at, is there a way that, like a platform that works, like there's nothing stopping anyone to like a suspension company having access to a seller account. Say it got suspended, you can see what they turn over, and then maybe it's like you could have a sliding scale. What I'm saying, you know, why I want to have this conversation is for the unfortunate smaller sellers who feel like they've got to pay out a couple of grand for something which is effectively maybe a sheet of paper and a couple of hours of elbow grease on email. Do you see what I mean? For the zero guarantee, nothing.
One thing I worry about too, that if you did it like a percentage of lost sales was how much the suspension cost.
Yeah.
So then the more expensive seller, someone who is doing $20,000 a day, can pay the 10% of daily revenue just to get themselves unsuspended. But then it would suck for a guy who is doing $5,000 a week. Yeah. Because then the 10%, most the agencies might just say, we're just not going to do business with you then.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's kind of a tricky thing. I wonder how much even Amazon knows about it. There's a kind of like third market of people helping people get unsuspended, because for the most part, it seems too, the people who are trying to get unsuspended, 9 times out of 10 didn't do anything malicious.
Yeah.
It's not like we're trying to break all the rules and then get unsuspended, and break all the rules and get unsuspended. We're all kind of, most people I talk to are pretty like good heart and are trying to actually give the customer value. And so, yeah, it's bizarre that it's even come to this point.
Yeah, I mean, there are people out there obviously do that. There's a smaller percentage.
Yeah.
It'd just be interested if there were different, what type of models. Well, I think some of the suspension agencies actually sell packages now to learn how to do your own appeals, which obviously helps that area of the market of where people are getting into the market. I suppose from a business point of view, I can see it being quite lucrative because of the fear factor. Do you see what I mean? But ultimately, there's no level of responsibility. There's no shift there in the sense like if you're going to write someone a letter for a few £1,000s and there's no guarantees behind it and you pay, say, up front, for instance, then what do you do next time? I've seen people that have spent up to $7,000 and got nowhere with that process. Go on.
What do you think about a model like this? If you teamed up with 9 of your other buddies who are Amazon sellers in different niches, and everyone kind of paid into like $100 a month co-op that kept one of these companies on retainer.
Yeah.
Because then the company's getting its $1,000 a month. It's getting its recurring revenue. It's getting plenty of money on it. Best case scenario is none of the companies get suspended the whole year, and you just made $12,000 doing nothing. Yeah. But then if 5 of the companies get suspended that year, you just solve it, no problem, no questions asked, that type of thing. And then you kind of have the protection on your side at all times for $100 a month insurance.
Yeah, it's just like we said, is that co-op experience could work. But I think we've got to look on the flip side now, and because people listening in as like maybe the suspension companies go, well, you don't know what you're talking about, which is true. We don't know what we're talking about. We're just having a conversation between Amazon sellers. We see large fees and a one-sheeter and no guarantee in between, So on the flip side, let's look at another ways that you could do your own appeals, totally screw it up and never get your account back or never get your listing back. So there is that side of it as well, isn't there? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's easily something you could just mess up or you don't understand the wording. And it's, just really dig yourself a hole where you just kind of cannot get out of it. And then from there, if you've been suspended, good luck trying to open up another Amazon account. And so it's unfortunate because the people who need the most information probably have the least information. Because the people who are just getting started, getting suspended, they just did $5,000 their first month, $10,000 their first month. They've been only selling on Amazon for a couple months. They don't really understand how Amazon talks. They don't understand how Amazon communicates. There's certain words that can you combine these 2 listings? They're going to be like, no, we can't. Can you merge these 2 listings? They're going to be like, oh yeah, merge. We get that. And so it's like different things like that where they just certain words they kind of click onto, and if you don't know those, you're going to be kind of screwed. But so that's why it's like it's easy for me or you to talk who've been selling on Amazon for a few years now, that we can think we can handle it ourselves just because we've talked to Amazon enough. We've filled out 1,000 cases. We've dealt with every problem ever on Amazon, so we feel more comfortable with it. But I could definitely see if you're a beginner starter on Amazon, everything's still foreign to you, and then you get suspended after your first month. Paying for your problem to go away, even though it might be your next couple months net income, it's better to keep going than to basically sit in no man's land where you're not getting sales, you don't know what to do, you're suspended, and all you're doing is just bugging people on Facebook groups all day.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, so as I said, this is not to downgrade any suspension companies or devalue their services in any way. It's just trying to have a healthy debate to see from an Amazon seller's point of view, not from a suspension company's point of view, is how it could work for all sellers across all ranges. Because ultimately, you never want to be suspended, and it makes sense. Like some of the companies do suspension prevention retainers as well, where they get undone. So that's where some of the prevention stuff comes in to make sure that you got a top down on the business. But I do like your idea of everyone chipping in as a co-op if there's a way of running a model that way.
Yeah, the co-op thing seems kind of the best for both worlds because you don't pay that much. The agency still gets their dough, and it's probably semi-equal work.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues outside of lack of knowledge, I think when people get suspended, and we all do it, you put emotion in place. If you start writing this like an F-bomb to the support team because you're getting all emotional, they're just going to reject it out of hand. If you write a war and peace thing, they're going to reject it out of hand. And the most interesting thing is that the way that most of their emails are sent out to you, they're requesting things from you that you can't possibly deliver, but there's no way of having that conversation. So you try and read between the lines and you get that wrong. So that's become very difficult. And I heard last year that Amazon are actually engaging. It's non-scalable, but they are engaging with sellers. What's the best way people can reach you, mate?
My email, williamtjernlund@gmail.com, at WTJERN on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook /Tjernlund, LinkedIn /Tjernlund. Yeah, you can find me anywhere. I got a unique name.
Excellent. All right, bro. Good to have you on. Guys, again, thank you again for your time and your patience. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you again soon.